Imagine needing to produce enough food to fill, well, 250 million tons of grain
Yeah.
every single year. And that number isn't just holding steady, it's actually growing. That's the staggering everyday challenge facing a nation like India and, many parts of the world, really.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a truly fascinating look into improving food resources. Our mission, essentially, is to unpack the scientific innovations and the smart management practices that are absolutely essential for feeding a growing global population sustainably.
That's right. And for you, our listener, this deep dive is really designed to cut through the noise. We want to give you the critical nuggets of knowledge on how we're striving for food security. We'll explore everything from, enhancing crop yields through advanced plant breeding,
Right.
all the way to revolutionizing animal husbandry. But critically, and this is important, we'll also confront that delicate balance between boosting production and protecting our environment, making sure that the solutions we discuss today don't end up creating bigger problems down the road. Okay, so let's start right at the very beginning. Why is this deep dive even necessary? I mean, fundamentally.
Well, at its core, all life needs food. It's our fuel.
Exactly, our fuel. Providing the essential proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, everything vital for development, growth, health. And we primarily get this from agriculture and animal husbandry, but the why goes much deeper than just basic sustenance, doesn't it?
It really does. The urgent drive for food resource improvement is incredibly multifaceted. First, just look at the sheer scale of population pressure. India, for example, over 1 billion people already and climbing.
Still climbing.
Which means needing well over 250 million tons of grain annually, probably quite soon. And here's the kicker. We can't just keep expanding farms indefinitely. India is already, among the most intensively cultivated regions globally. There's really no major scope for bringing more land under the plow.
So we have to get smarter.
Precisely. It forces us to increase production efficiency dramatically for both crops and livestock.
We've certainly seen some huge shifts in the past, haven't we? Like the green revolution for food grains.
Massive impact.
And the white revolution for milk and dairy. Those were pivotal moments.
Absolutely. They were crucial. But, and here's where the nuance comes in, while those revolutions were vital for feeding millions, they often came with what we now see as significant unintended consequences.
Okay, like what?
Well, they often relied on a much more intensive, sometimes unsustainable use of natural resources. Think about depleting groundwater faster than it replenishes, or maybe relying so heavily on certain chemical fertilizers that they seep into rivers.
Right, polluting waterways.
Exactly. Disrupting aquatic life, or even harming the very soil microorganisms that keep the land fertile in the first place. So this highlights a really crucial imperative. We must increase food production, yes, but without degrading our environment or upsetting that delicate ecological balance. The future really demands sustainable practices in agriculture and in animal husbandry, too.
So it's not just about, piling up grain in warehouses. Food security is more complex than just having the food available.
Precisely. People need the money to actually buy the food.
The access part.
Exactly. Food security hinges on both availability of food and access to it. And for a country like India, where a large chunk of the population still relies on agriculture for their livelihood, increasing the incomes of farmers is directly linked to combating hunger effectively.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If farmers earn more, they can afford better food, healthcare, education. It lifts the whole community.
It really is.
So this brings us to the core question. How do we scientifically boost the yields of crops and livestock in this new sustainable way? We're seeing some clever strategies emerge. Things like mixed farming, intercropping.
Integrated farming, too.
Right, integrated farming. Combining agriculture with livestock, maybe poultry, fisheries, even beekeeping.
Yes, all of those. It's about building a sustained, resilient livelihood for farmers while also being efficient.
Okay, let's dive into the pillars of crop improvement. First, maybe just a quick rundown of the major crop categories.
Good idea. So we have the cereals. Think wheat, rice, maize, millets, sorghum. These are primarily for carbohydrates, our energy source.
Got it.
Then pulses like gram, pea, black gram, green gram, pigeon pea, lentils. These are vital for protein.
Protein, right.
Oilseeds give us necessary fats: soybean, groundnut, sesame, castor, mustard, linseeds, sunflower, and of course, vegetables, spices, and fruits. They provide those essential vitamins and minerals. We also shouldn't forget fodder crops like berseem, oats, or Sudan grass, which are grown specifically for livestock feed.
And farming is often tied to seasons, right? In India, we talk about kharif and rabi.
Exactly. The kharif season is the rainy season, generally June to October. That's when you see crops like paddy, rice, soybean, maize, cotton, green gram, black gram. Then the rabi season is the cooler winter season, November to April. That's for crops like wheat, gram, peas, mustard, linseed.
So, you mentioned earlier, India achieved a four-fold increase in grain production between 1952 and 2010, but with only a 25% increase in land area. How was that even possible?
It wasn't magic, definitely not. It was a very deliberate strategy, focusing on three key stages. First, the choice of seeds, that's crop variety improvement. Second, the actual nurturing of the crop plants while they grow, crop production improvement. And third, the crucial protection of the crops, both growing and harvested, from losses, that's crop protection management.
Okay, let's break down that first one. Crop variety improvement. The core idea is finding varieties that give really good yields, I assume.
Yes, but it's more than just yield. It's about engineering varieties that are consistently high-yielding and resilient. And this is where genetic techniques come in. We incorporate desired characteristics mainly through two methods. One is hybridisation. Think of it like matchmaking for plants. We cross genetically dissimilar plants.
Get similar out.
Well, it could be intervarietal crossing different varieties of the same crop, or interspecific crossing two different species within the same genus, or even intergeneric crossing different genera altogether, trying to get really unique combinations of traits.
Wow, okay. And the other method?
The other is developing genetically modified crops, or GMCs. Here, we introduce specific genes directly into the plant to give it a desired trait, like pest resistance, for instance.
So when a new variety is developed, what makes it a real winner for farmers? What are they actually looking for?
Good question. Farmers need varieties that, yes, produce high yields, but also perform reliably under the diverse, often unpredictable conditions they face. And crucially, they need good quality, uniform seeds, seeds that are consistent, that germinate well.
Right, so what are the key traits they're breeding for?
Several key things. Higher yield, obviously getting more crop per acre. Improved quality. This varies hugely by crop. Better baking quality in wheat, maybe more protein in pulses, higher oil content in oil seeds, or longer shelf life for fruits and vegetables.
Makes sense.
Then biotic and abiotic resistance. This is huge.
Yeah.
Protecting against living threats, diseases, insects, nematodes, that's biotic, and non-living environmental stresses like drought, salinity, heat, cold, frost, that's abiotic. This is really where science tackles nature's challenges head on.
Very cool. What else?
Shorter maturity duration. This is a game changer. It lets farmers grow multiple crops in 1 year, which reduces costs and makes harvesting more uniform and efficient. Wider adaptability is another goal. Having one variety that can thrive across different climates helps stabilize production overall. And finally, desirable agronomic characteristics, things like tallness and lots of leaves for fodder crops, or conversely, dwarfness in cereals.
Dwarfness. Why dwarfness for cereals?
Because dwarf cereal plants consume fewer nutrients just growing tall stems. More of the plant's energy and nutrients go into producing the actual grain, leading to higher productivity from the same amount of input.
Clever. Okay, so that's the seed, but even the best seed needs the right conditions. Which brings us to crop production management. And we have to touch on the economic reality here. A farmer's financial situation really dictates their approach, right?
Absolutely. A farmer's ability to invest heavily influences whether they adopt no-cost, low-cost, or high-cost production practices. Generally, higher inputs mean higher potential yields. Within this management, nutrient management is absolutely fundamental. Plants need nutrients just like we do.
Right.
They get carbon and oxygen from the air, hydrogen and oxygen from water. But the soil is where they get the other 13 essential nutrients. We divide these into macronutrients needed in larger amounts. Nitrogen N, phosphorus P, and potassium K are the big three.
Okay.
Right. Plus calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And then micronutrients needed in tiny amounts, but still essential: iron, manganese, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum, and chlorine.
Okay, so how do farmers supply these? Let's talk about manure first, the traditional method. What are its unique advantages?
Manure, which is basically decomposed animal waste and plant matter, is like nature's slow-release nutrient source. It adds lots of organic matter to the soil and smaller amounts of nutrients. That organic matter is great for soil structure, it helps sandy soils hold more water, and it improves drainage in heavy clay soils. Plus, it's great for the environment because it recycles farm waste.
Are there different kinds?
Yes. There's compost, made from decomposed waste in pits, vermicompost, which uses earthworms to speed up decomposition, and green manure.
Green manure.
Yeah, that's where specific plants like sun hemp or gar are grown and then plowed back into the soil while still green. They decompose and enrich the soil, especially with nitrogen and phosphorus.
Okay, contrasting that with fertilizers, the commercial chemical nutrients.
Yeah.
How do they fit in?
Fertilizers supply concentrated doses of specific nutrients, mainly N, P, and K. They give a quick boost to vegetative growth leaves, stems, and generally lead to higher yields, especially in high-input farming. But, and this is a big but, their use requires really careful management.
What's that?
Well, you need the right dose at the right time. Too much fertilizer, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, can wash off fields with rain or irrigation.
Runoff pollution.
Exactly. Leading to eutrophication in lakes and rivers, algae blooms that kill fish. Also, continuous heavy use without managing soil health can actually harm soil fertility over the long term by depleting organic matter and harming beneficial soil microorganisms.
So it's a balancing act. Short-term boost versus long-term soil health.
It absolutely is. How do you get the immediate yield benefits of fertilizers while maintaining the long-term soil health benefits you get from manure? This is where organic farming comes in as a potential solution or philosophy. It aims to minimize or completely avoid synthetic chemicals. Instead, it focuses on maximizing organic inputs, recycling farm waste, using bioagents.
Bioagents.
Yeah, like using specific microbes, say blue-green algae, as biofertilizers to fix nitrogen, or using natural products like neem leaves or turmeric as biopesticides. It's about creating a healthy, balanced cropping system.
Okay. Another critical input, especially in places like India, is water. Irrigation. Most agriculture is rain-fed, you said.
That's right. Highly dependent on the monsoon. A poor monsoon often means crop failure. So ensuring crops get enough water, especially at critical growth stages, is absolutely key to boosting yields and making them more reliable.
What kinds of irrigation systems are common?
India uses a whole range. Traditional methods include wells, both simple dug wells and deeper tube wells tapping groundwater. Then there are extensive canal systems, drawing water from rivers or reservoirs. River lift systems pump water directly from rivers, and smaller storage tanks or ponds.
Are there newer approaches too?
Yes, definitely. Things like rainwater harvesting and watershed management are becoming increasingly important. This might involve building small check dams, for example. These slow down rainwater runoff, which helps recharge groundwater levels, and also, crucially, reduces soil erosion.
Smart. Now let's talk about cropping patterns. These sound like strategies to get more out of the same land.
They are indeed very clever ways to maximize efficiency and reduce risk. One basic method is mixed cropping. Growing 2 or more crops simultaneously, mixed together in the same field, maybe wheat and gram. The main benefit is risk reduction. If one crop fails due to pests or weather, the farmer might still get a harvest from the other. It's like an insurance policy.
Okay. And intercropping, that sounds more deliberate.
It is. Intercropping involves growing 2 or more crops together, but in a definite pattern like alternating rows of, say, soybean and maize. What's really smart here is choosing crops with different nutrient needs, so they don't compete as much and they utilize the available soil nutrients more fully. It also helps prevent pests and diseases from spreading easily through the entire field compared to planting just one crop. Often leads to better returns overall.
And crop rotation.
Crop rotation is growing different crops in a pre-planned succession on the same piece of land over seasons or years. The choice of crops often depends on moisture, irrigation, and aiming to replenish soil nutrients. For example, planting a legume crop can help restore nitrogen to the soil for the next cereal crop. With good irrigation, this can allow farmers to get 2 or even 3 good harvests in a single year.
Okay, so we've improved the seed, managed the nutrients and water, and used smart planting patterns. But we still need to protect the crop, right? Crop protection management and storage.
Absolutely crucial. Because even if you grow a fantastic crop, field pests and diseases can wipe out a huge portion of it, if not controlled.
So what are the main enemies out there in the field?
We generally face 3 main threats. First, weeds. These are just unwanted plants like xanthium, parthenium, cyperus rotundus. They compete fiercely with the crop for sunlight, water, nutrients, space.
Shilling resources.
Exactly, directly reducing crop growth and yield. Second, insect pests. They attack in various ways. Some cut roots or stems, others suck the sap from leaves, some bore into stems or fruits, all damaging the plant and reducing yield. And third, diseases caused by pathogens like bacteria, fungi, and viruses. These can spread through soil, water, air, and can devastate a crop.
And the most common control method has been pesticides, but you mentioned issues with those earlier.
Yes, pesticides including herbicides for weeds, insecticides for insects, fungicides for fungi are widely used. They can be effective in the short term, but the big problem is the potential for environmental pollution from overuse or improper use. Plus, they can be toxic to beneficial insects like pollinators, other animals, and even human health. So there's a huge push towards more sustainable preventive methods.
Like what?
Well, things like simple mechanical removal of weeds, proper seedbed preparation to reduce weed seeds, timely sowing of the crop so it gets established quickly. Using those cropping patterns we talked about, intercropping and crop rotation can disrupt pest cycles. Planting resistant crop varieties is key. And practices like summer plowing, deep plowing during the hot, dry season can expose and kill weed roots and dormant pests in the soil.
Okay, protecting the crop in the field is one thing. What about after harvest? Grain storage. Losses there could be huge too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Post-harvest storage losses are a major problem globally. The culprits fall into two categories: biotic factors, insects, rodents, fungi, mites, bacteria, living things that eat or spoil the grain, and abiotic factors, primarily inappropriate moisture levels and temperatures during storage. Too much moisture allows mold and bacteria to thrive.
And what kind of damage do these cause?
It's significant. Degradation in quality, loss of weight, poor germinability if the grain is meant for seed, discoloration, and ultimately it just makes the grain less marketable or even unusable.
So what's the solution for better storage?
It boils down to proper treatment and systematic warehouse management. This means strict cleaning of the grain before storage. Thorough drying is essential, often first in the sun, then in the shade to get the moisture content down to a safe level, and then often fumigation using specific chemicals in sealed storage to kill any pests that might be present. It requires careful handling and expertise.
Okay, let's shift gears now. We've talked a lot about crops. Let's move to animal husbandry. This is the scientific side of managing livestock, right? Feeding, breeding, disease control. And demand for animal products, milk, eggs, meat, is definitely rising with population growth and, well, rising living standards.
It certainly is. And an interesting point you mentioned earlier, there's also a growing awareness and demand for more humane treatment of livestock, which is increasingly influencing farming practices.
Good point. So let's start with cattle farming. What are the main goals there?
Traditionally, it's dual purpose. Milk production from milch animals, cows like Bos indicus and buffaloes, bamboo leaves, and draft labor using bullocks for plowing, irrigation, pulling carts. A major focus in breeding is increasing the lactation period, how long a cow produces milk after giving birth. We see exotic breeds like Jersey or Brown Swiss known for very long lactation periods, but local Indian breeds like Red Sindhi or Sahiwal are often much more resistant to local diseases.
So the best approach is often
Crossbreeding. Trying to combine the desirable qualities, get the long lactation of an exotic breed with the disease resistance and hardiness of a local breed.
makes sense. And beyond breeding, what about just the day-to-day care?
Absolutely crucial. Proper shelter is important. Well-ventilated sheds, ideally with a roof and sloping floors for easy cleaning, protecting them from rain, heat, cold. Regular brushing helps keep the animals clean and monitor skin health. Nutrition is key. Dairy animals have a maintenance requirement, just the food needed to stay healthy, and then an additional milk-producing requirement during lactation.
What kind of feed do they get?
It's usually a mix. Roughage, which is high in fiber, think hay, silage, green fodder, and concentrates, which are low in fiber but rich in protein and other nutrients like grains, oilseed cakes. Providing a balanced ration, sometimes with specific micronutrient additives, is vital for health and milk production. And of course, disease management is critical. Protecting against external parasites, internal parasites like worms, and infectious bacterial or viral diseases. Vaccinations are fundamental here.
Okay. What about poultry farming? Raising chickens, basically.
Exactly. Primarily for eggs from breeds called layers and for meat from breeds called broilers. Breeding programs here are very advanced. They often crossbreed Indian varieties like the Osseola, known for its hardiness, with foreign breeds like the Leghorn, famous for high egg production. The goals are numerous: improving the number and quality of chicks produced, developing dwarf broiler parents, which are more efficient feed converters for producing meat chicks, better adaptation to hot climates, lower maintenance needs, and even getting layers that can utilize cheaper fibrous diets made from agricultural byproducts.
And broilers, the meat chickens, have very specific needs, I gather.
They do. They need rapid growth. So they're fed a diet that's very high in protein, adequate in fat, and supplemented with high levels of vitamins A and K. This specific diet promotes fast growth, good feed efficiency, less feed needed per kilogram of weight gain, proper feathering, and good carcass quality. Overall management for all poultry emphasizes maintaining the right temperature and strict hygiene in their housing. Proper feed, clean water, and preventing diseases through cleaning, sanitation, disinfectants, and vaccination are all key. And broilers and layers do have slightly different requirements for optimal production.
Right. Let's move into the water. Fish production. A major source of animal protein, often quite affordable too.
Yes, very important. And it includes not just finned fish, but also shellfish like prawns and mollusks. Broadly, we get fish in two ways: capture fishing, harvesting from natural sources like oceans, rivers, lakes, and culture fishery, which is essentially fish farming or aquaculture.
And fish come from different water sources, right?
Mhm.
Marine, freshwater.
Correct. Marine fisheries are in the oceans and seas. Freshwater fisheries are in inland waters like canals, ponds, reservoirs, rivers. And brackish water fisheries are in areas where fresh water mixes with seawater, like estuaries and lagoons. These have unique ecosystems.
India has a huge coastline, so marine fishing must be significant.
It is about 7,500 kilometers of coastline, plus the deep seas. Popular marine fish include pomfret, mackerel, tuna, sardines, Bombay duck. Technology helps too. Things like satellites and echo sounders are used to locate large schools of fish more efficiently. But with concerns about overfishing wild stocks, mariculture is becoming more important.
Mariculture.
That's farming marine organisms in seawater, farming high-value fish like mullets, betke, pearl spots, or shellfish like prawns, mussels, and even oysters, specifically cultivating oysters for pearls. It helps meet demand sustainably.
Okay. And inland fisheries. Capture fishing isn't as big there.
Generally, yields from capture fishing in inland waters are lower and less predictable. So aquaculture, fish farming, is really the dominant mode of production in freshwater and brackish water. And there are some really innovative culture practices.
Like what?
Well, one interesting one is growing fish in combination with rice crops right in the paddy fields. But perhaps the most impressive system is composite fish culture.
Composite. What's that involve?
It's a really smart system. You stock a single pond with a combination of 5 or 6 different fish species. The key is that these species are chosen because they have different feeding habits. They don't compete for the same food source. For example, catless feed on the surface, rohus feed in the mid-water zone, murigulls and common carps are bottom feeders, and grass carps eat weeds. So all the available food resources in the pond at different levels are utilized effectively. This leads to much higher overall fish yield from the pond.
That is clever. But I remember reading that a challenge can be breeding these fish, especially getting pure seed. Many only breed during the monsoon, right?
That was a major bottleneck. If you just collected eggs from rivers during monsoon, you'd get a mix of species, which isn't ideal for composite culture. But the solution came through technology. Using hormonal stimulation to induce breeding in these fish under controlled pond conditions. This breakthrough allows for the production of pure seed of the desired species, reliably and in large quantities. It's crucial for scaling up aquaculture.
Fascinating. Okay, one more area. Beekeeping or apiculture?
Yes, beekeeping. It's often highlighted as an excellent additional income source for farmers because the investment can be relatively low compared to the returns. The main products, of course, are honey, a valuable food source, and beeswax, which has many uses, especially in medicinal preparations and cosmetics.
What kinds of bees are typically used? I've heard the Italian bee is popular.
That's right. There are local Indian varieties used, like Apis cerana indica, the Indian bee, A. dorsata, the rock bee, often quite aggressive, and A. flore, the little bee. But for commercial honey production on a larger scale, the Italian bee, A. mellifera, is very commonly used.
Why the Italian bee specifically?
Several reasons. They generally have a very high honey collection capacity. They tend to sting less than some other varieties, making them easier to manage. They stay in their hives for longer periods, and they breed very well, allowing colonies to grow strong. Commercial bee farms, where hives are set up and managed, are called apiaries.
And what determines the taste and quality of the honey itself?
That depends almost entirely on the pasturage. That's the term for the flowers available to the bees for collecting nectar and pollen. Different types of flowers produce nectars with different sugars and compounds, which results in honey with distinct flavors, colors, and textures. The abundance and variety of suitable flowers near the apiary are key.
Wow. We've really covered a huge amount of ground today, from, genetic improvements in crops and managing soil nutrients to innovative farming patterns like intercropping, and then all the different aspects of animal care, cattle, poultry, fish, even bees. It's clearly a very complex, multifaceted approach needed to ensure food security.
It really is. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, it's clear that improving food resources isn't just about producing more. It's about doing so intelligently, responsibly. It's about achieving that crucial balance between ensuring food security for everyone today and maintaining ecological health for future generations. It's a blend of biology, economics, environmental science, a constant process of learning and adapting.
Yeah, what really stands out is just how deeply intertwined our food systems, our choices, our farming practices are with the health of the planet and ultimately the well-being of every single person.
Hmm.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener. As we look ahead, what responsibility do you feel we each hold in fostering these sustainable food practices, perhaps even in our own daily lives and choices?
A very pertinent question. In this deep dive, we covered the pressing need for food resource improvement, explored the pillars of crop improvement, including crop variety, production, and protection management. We also delved into various aspects of animal husbandry, from cattle and poultry farming to fish production and beekeeping.
Stay tuned for more exam-ready insights. Subscribe to never miss a topic breakdown.